Okay, let me make sure I'm online. Okay, hello, I'm Alex from A.P.Ink. So today I'm going to be picking up where I left off last time, which quite a while ago now. I had designed this A, not necessarily original, but I tried to incorporate a lowercase a within the uppercase A. Um, so I want to try to maybe do a few of these. We'll see how long it takes, but maybe, I don't know. I'm just gonna get into this. Okay, so referring back to my A, I'm gonna say it doesn't necessarily matter how, like, the overall dimensions of this shape, but I guess just to see, because it's been a while. So over 2¼ and about 1 3/4 inch. So maybe just to rough this out. It's less than 2½ inches, but more than 2 3/4 inch. I think that, okay, that might be close enough. The scale doesn't necessarily matter, but just to try to keep it in the ballpark so that this ends up looking cohesive. There's probably a cleaner way of doing this, but this is how I'm doing this. I just want to make sure I'm online. Okay, so to try to find the center point of this, so I know roughly where to put the center point for where the I don't know how to explain it properly, but where like the bow should bend, if that makes any sense. Let me sharpen this really quick. So how I should okay, let me unfortunately the disadvantages of being dyslexic can sometimes throw me off as to which way the B, lowercase b should be versus the lowercase d. So I have a reference. If that's too simple though, with some B's, the upper bump is smaller than the lower bump, but I think it doesn't really work here because of how kind of squared I have this. But, I mean, that would be good for like the lowercase b, but I don't know if the uppercase b really reads as a b. I neglected to grab a fine liner. Let me go grab one really quick. I'll be right back. Okay, that's one option that might go like be in the same kind of style as the A. I'm just trying to figure if there's another way to do this. I mean, I've got room to try a different layout, but I'm not sure what that would be. So I'm gonna switch off and see what I can come up with for a upper and lowercase c. But to keep this, again, in the same kind of style as the A and the B, where I could put the lowercase c, because I'm thinking maybe in the bottom corner here, kind of like how I did the lowercase b. But if I do that, I think I have to fatten up this back part of the C. Like, I could see it coming like this without the lowercase c, but then there's no room for the lowercase c. So if I fatten up this section here, that kind of gives a different look to the C. I'm thinking this might end up being too small to come across as a C. Okay. I'm gonna let this one sit too and come back to it. And we're gonna try to work on a letter D. Okay, and then to reverse this shape, essentially, to make the lowercase d, but I'm not sure that really comes off as an uppercase D. Like I can say it is, but if it actually looks like it to anybody watching this, going back here, if I did this as a lowercase c. But if I cut it out the same as I've cut the A out, I think it'll just look like a circle. I mean, I could stretch it out a bit more, but I don't think it would end up matching with the lowercase a. If I stretched it out, I think I would do it like this. But even for that, I don't think it looks like a C. I think it looks less like a C. I mean, I could cut off the extra bit here, but I don't think that looks any more like a C. What if I actually like make it a full shape? So when I cut it out, that'll be the uppercase C and that'll be the lowercase c. I don't know if that looks like a C though. I mean, I can see it. I'll be right back. Okay, to try to lay out an uppercase and lowercase e. Which I think to accommodate the lowercase e, I'm gonna have to copy this form here, or style, whatever, where the back section here it is a bit fatter. Okay, there's the uppercase E. I'm thinking for this one, I might have to make it a little bit fatter, just so the lowercase e doesn't kind of break this line here. Hello. I might have to maybe make the lowercase e a little bit taller. I'm just thinking so I'm not eyeballing like the opening for the lowercase e, that it would actually be in line with one of the grids. Why didn't I just trace what? Because I'm trying to design my own. To incorporate the lowercase in the uppercase. That's what I tried to do here with the A. I tried to create like the lowercase a inside the uppercase. That's cool. Are you retired now? You worked in print production. Commercially? I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope you're taking advantage of whatever time you have left. I took commercial art in school, didn't really like it, but for whatever reason, that's where I keep ending up. Okay, I'm gonna try to do an F, and then we'll go back and see if I can come up with any other designs that might work better than what I've already got. I have a friend from college that ended up working for a magazine. You call it university. May I ask, are you overseas? British. Yeah, paying your bills is a bit important. What did you take at art college? I think again, so I actually have room to put in a lowercase f. I'm gonna fatten up this back wall graphic design. Let me try to create the lowercase f here, and we'll see if I can't thin this up a bit, because I think even in adding the lower arm for the F, that the overall F shape is getting lost here. I lean more towards illustration than graphic design. But then I went to school for game design and didn't end up doing that after graduating. That does seem to be the case. I think game design is quite interesting. Okay, so just to keep my dyslexic eye uh, coherent, I guess. I'm not sure if I could actually get away with. Okay, so the lowercase f has the kind of double-sided bar here. I'm thinking if I pushed the lowercase f closer and just had one side, that it would just look like an uppercase F inside a lower. It would look like an uppercase F inside an uppercase F. You had a friend who worked on the first Batman game? That's awesome. I've worked on a couple of startups, but startups don't always work out. So none of the games I've worked on have actually come to market. I'm not sure if that really reads as a lowercase f. It was in the late 80s. Well, yeah, there have been, I don't know how many Batman games, I'd have to look it up. He hated it. Because of the work, um, the amount of work, or unfortunately, that seems to still be a thing. Game developers are not treated very well. I don't know if you, it's something common in design industry. Yeah. I don't know how much you actually get into new games coming out, but the way they treated the developers for Cyberpunk and um, I think it was Last of Us, the Last of Us game. None of the coders on those games were treated very nice. Okay, so that's my attempt at an uppercase and lowercase f. Going back through. See, I can see the uppercase and the lowercase. And I'm still not sure how else I would do this. I mean, I could try to create like a small window here, but I think it would end up taking away from the B. Yeah, for what I've seen to work in an actual studio, it's kind of cutthroat. Okay, just to make this a bit clearer, before I actually cut these out, I think without that window, okay, B, you've worked and walked from similar environments. I haven't had really much in the way of experience working in studios, but for sure, startups can be quite toxic as well. See, I'm still not sure about this. It looks almost like a keyhole. But because of how I did the lowercase b, I feel obligated to do the lowercase d the same way so it looks the same. I'm not sure if I've actually made the D a little bit bigger than the B. Maybe, I think it's slightly bigger. I don't know if it really makes a difference, but if I make it a little bit smaller, if that actually makes the slightest difference. Anything to do with money is toxic. That's true. Maybe it's just me, but I think somehow that helped. I'm not sure if I shouldn't have actually had the lowercase b and d a little bit closer to the edge of the uppercase letter, the same way I had for the C, the E, and kind of the F. But I think that would have only potentially taken away from kind of like the center space. Yeah, I mean, the entire like boxy concept letters isn't new, but just trying to put my own take on it, I guess, play with typography and try to come up with my own font. I mean, it might end up looking quite busy if I were to use this to create a word, to have the uppercase and lowercase represented, but don't know until after you try. Okay. I think before... I'm thinking about cutting these out, but I think before I do that, I think I'll do another set. So, G. I'm an illustrator. Make sure I've got the right dimensions. Yeah, freelance. I'm kind of working a la carte. There are probably a lot of easier ways. Working freelance through agencies, commercially, or everything. Like ads, or like books, book illustrations. Design industry is dead there. Make the back here fat, the same as I've done up here, to try to make room for the lowercase g, which is going to be interesting as to how I'm going to fit this. Oh yeah, print's been dying for quite a while. game studios are laying people off. I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah, I think, well, my uh, college experience was, I don't know how commonplace it is, but my teachers were all in some aspect of commercial. Uh, I don't know. They were all commercial in some aspect. I think to give myself a bit more room for the lowercase, I'm gonna have to really shrink the inside of this G. Hopefully this still reads as a G. I think just to help with the G, it needs the kind of inner arm, finger, whatever. Yeah, I did have one teacher who was a commercial artist. So uh, my experience with that was fairly limited, but my um, major teacher, he did design websites more than he got into gaming. So I didn't really have much in the way of like a true glimpse as to how easy or hard it was, if that makes any sense. To actually make this look like a lowercase g. Maybe that looks like a lowercase g. You had a tutor that designed record covers. I mean, I did have an issue with one of my uh, core class teachers. She had a bit of a smug attitude, but in my opinion, the classes that she taught were minimal. Didn't necessarily need them to graduate, but for some reason they were still required. Okay. I'm gonna attempt an H, which should be maybe simple, but to actually have room for the lowercase. There's probably terminology for this, but my knowledge of typography is limited. To have one part of it fatter than the other when it's supposed to be symmetrical, which is what I'm going to try to do here, so I have room for the lowercase. We'll see if this still looks like an H, though. I think to kind of copy the lowercase b and d here. Maybe. Okay. Thanks for dropping in, Grumpy Fairy. Enjoy the rest of your day or night. I can't think of the time difference. I think you're a few hours behind me. I probably have that reversed. Definitely, I think you're ahead of me. Okay. Uppercase or lowercase I, which we'll see if this actually looks like an I. That might work. Okay. J. Okay, so at least based on the reference that I have here, the hook is kind of like in the center. I think I'm going to push it like back a bit. So it's off center. And I think that'll work because I need to make sure I have room for the lowercase j. I'm not sure if I could get away with actually having it a little further back. And then I think, again, to kind of mimic how fat like the C, the F, the G, the H, I'm gonna make this straight part of the hook a bit fat, so I have room for the lowercase j, g, j, one of those things. I don't know if this is really going to come off as a lowercase j. I'm purposely making the dot for the I and the J a kind of diamond, because I think that would read better than just like a square for the dot. Okay, if I made this a bit fatter, hopefully it still reads as an uppercase J, but this would let me maybe make the lowercase j look more like a J. I think to round this part too, but maybe to bring this up a bit more. Okay. I'm gonna try a K, but I will be right back. I'm not sure this is really gonna work. Everything else has been so boxy. To maybe play up the same kind of shape as the H. So see, I want something that'll actually be sturdy. I mean, this is just paper, but what I'm planning for after I cut these out will make them a bit more sturdy. Okay, let's play with this. So to take off the H, I suppose in a way it would be a take off the H and the B. I'm not sure that really works. I mean, I could make them both sloped in, I guess. But maybe not to make the connection point so boxy. Let's see how the lowercase k will work. Okay, I think maybe... Okay, so to go off of the reference I have here, the where the arm and kind of the leg here join is like in the center, whereas for the uppercase, whereas for the lowercase, it looks like the only difference is the arm is not as long on the lowercase as the uppercase, but I think I've seen sometimes the I was gonna say the leg can be shorter than the arm on the uppercase, but I suppose that's not really how the uppercase works. I don't know if that really works. It looks weird. Like it looked weird when I had it boxy like this. I'm still not sure that lowercase g works. Yeah, I'm working on alphabet. How are you doing, Asakura? That's good. I think the I, the J, and the H work, but for the lowercase g and the uppercase K, like it looks like a 9, and I'm not sure how I can fix it. The new Alien series. Is that the Alien Earth series? Or is it a different series? Wait, you already watched all of it? Didn't it just come out? Or did they just drop like one episode versus like an entire season? The first two episodes. Okay, well, I think about these two. I think I'm gonna go ahead and ink these ones. I think I forgot to say, I'm using a 0.5 fine liner. It's a solid 8 so far. Oh, did you see they remastered one of the original Godzilla movies? Like I think they made it colorized. Unfortunately, I don't remember which movie they remastered. It may have been the first one. Yeah, I mean, just from the preview I saw, it looks like a movie that could have come out like recently. Not released. F what's SG? Oh, I didn't know there was a abbreviation for Singapore. Doesn't really matter, but just to erase that cutout. Maybe to add a kind of cutout here in the lowercase g to maybe slightly take away the 9 look. I mean, if I moved both of these arms closer, maybe that would help, because there wouldn't be such a gap between where the arms are and where the arm and leg are versus the body. I feel like this might be too much, but we'll see. I don't know. That might work. If I should bring it down a little bit more, though. At least for this G, it would be different if it was just like um like written and not like bubble. Like if it were thinner. Okay, I think we're gonna go with this. I don't know if I should have actually made that center of the G kind of the same way I did the dot for the I and J. That may have made it a bit more cohesive. Okay. So obviously A is done. B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. Yeah, lots of trial and error. I was gonna cut these out, but I'm not sure how well I've actually glued the graph paper to the index cards. So, I think I want to digitize these so I can clean them up a bit. That's what I did with the A, just so things don't fall apart. I gotta make up more of these cards anyway, so I can try to finish the alphabet. I'm gonna leave this one here, though. If you'd like to hang out and see the conclusion of this, maybe, or at least the progression of this, please make sure that you're following me and that your notifications are turned on so that you're notified for the next time I go live. But other than that, thank you, Asakura, for hanging out. They already left, but thanks to Grumpy Fairy for hanging out. Thank you to anybody else who watched or watches. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you. Bye. Go watch Aliens.